Mr. Carlson class. I'm Kyle Kubiak. Welcome to Peacock Student News. Me and my news team are here to bring you the biggest news around the world and nearest you.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm here to tell you about the biggest news stories around the world. Radioactive material bound for Iran seized in Moscow. Russian authorities seized radioactive material from the luggage of a passenger on a flight from Moscow to Tehran on Friday. The luggage, belonging to an Iran citizen, contained 18 metal objects packed in individual steel cases. The radiation level of the objects were 20 times above normal. A criminal investigation is underway. The whereabouts of the Iran passenger was not immediately clear. On to another terrible world story on December 11th. Hundreds arrested in child trafficking ring bust. Chinese police have busted 2 child trafficking rings in a 6-month nationwide investigation. They rescued 178 children and arrested 608 suspects. This is called the biggest achievement since the launch of the national campaign against the human trafficking. Police got a lead to the child traffickers by a traffic incident. 5,000 police officers conducted a highly coordinated nationwide investigation for several months before finally arresting the suspects last week. Officials placed rescued children in orphanages while they tried to reunite them with their families.
Hi, I'm Carson Thomas, and I'm here to bring you the biggest breaking news in 2011. The war in Iraq is over.
So Carson, what do you think about the troops finally being out of Iraq?
You know what? It's been a big struggle, but I'm really relieved that I'm finally going to come home and see my kids. My wife has been writing me a whole bunch of letters, and it's going to be nice to really see a familiar face.
I agree with that. Do you feel like the actions that you've done in Iraq are justified?
I feel like when we were there, we had a lot to prove, and that, I don't know, I think what we did was right. So we can only see how that goes from now. But
do you agree with being there for so long and now all of a sudden Obama's finally taking you guys out, or do you feel like you guys should have been out earlier?
I feel like, we should have been out earlier because we didn't have much of a point to be there for a while, but I'm just happy we're going home now.
So you feel like you protected your country and the job was done, so you're happy with what you did?
I love America.
That's good. I'm glad you're home, and I'm glad to see your kids, and I'm glad I congratulate you on doing everything for your country.
God bless.
Here at Peacock Student News, we like to give recognition to extraordinary people who act in ways that deserve to be seen, and we like to give a shout out to Paul Rhodes and the rest of his Iowa State football team. And one of the biggest state stories in 2011, Hawkeye fans, you might want to cover your stuff. I'm sure you've heard it enough. The Oklahoma State Cowboys were expecting an easy one on November 18th, but that wasn't the case. They came cruising into Ames, set to demolish Iowa State, what seemed to be a very easy win that was just going to move them on to the national championship. They're preparing to set up for a showdown rival at Oklahoma at home. With a spot in the BCS title game on the line, they were expecting nothing else than an easy win and be in the BCS title game in a couple of months. Then Oklahoma State let the upstart Cyclones hang around just enough to derail all those national title hopes. Backup running back Jeff Woody, who's from Sally's Polk, scored on a 4-yard run in the second overtime, and Iowa State stunned second-ranked Oklahoma State 37-31, opening the door for a couple of one-loss teams to make it in the BCS title. This was by far Iowa State's best win in team history, and just what the Cyclones needed to gain confidence into making their third bowl game appearance on December 30th in New York in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. We'd like to give congratulations to Paul Rhodes and the rest of the Iowa State football team, and a big good luck to you, and hope you bring that big win back, the good old Ames.
In other national sports news, LSU and Alabama meet for a second time in the National BCS Championship Bowl. Both 2 SEC teams, both Heisman candidates, Trent Richardson and also Tyrann Mathieu, both hoping to propel their team to a national championship, one for offense, the other for defense, to try and bring home the Crystal Trophy. Last time they met, it was a touchdown scoreless game, while LSU's special team rose to the occasion, while Alabama fell a little bit short, missing more than one field goal that could have won them the game. In other news, Jared Sandusky has been charged with sexual abuse and also molestation towards kids that have been a part of his Second Mile, a charity act that helps with community organizations and also helps care for foster children. Supposedly, around 20 incidents of Sandusky's sexual scandal have happened while he was still coaching as a defensive coordinator at Penn State. That was the biggest scandal of 2011.
To wrap up state news, the Iowa caucuses, where residents of Iowa meet all of Iowa's 1,784 precincts and elect delegates to corresponding county conventions. The 2012 Iowa caucuses are scheduled to take place on January 3, 2012. The Iowa caucuses are noteworthy for the amount of media attention they received during the U.S. presidential election years. Since 1972, the Iowa caucuses have been the first major electoral event of the nominating process for the President of the United States. Although the Iowa State Convention chooses only 1% of the nation's delegates, the Iowa caucuses have served as an early indication of which candidates for the president might win the nomination of the political party. Representative Ron Paul, the Libertarian favorite in the GOP presidential field, is giving establishment Iowa politicals headaches with his steady rise in popularity in their state, leading to predictions by some that Texas congressmen will win the state's caucuses next month. In the poll, Paul has overtaken former House Speaker Newt Gingrich for the top spot, with 27.5% of those polls saying they'll back Paul. Gingrich grabbed the second spot with 25.3%, Mitt Romney 17.5%, and Texas Governor Rick Perry with 11.2%, and Representative Michelle Bachmann ran out of the top 5. While Paul's lead is easily within the margin of error, James McCormick, professor and chair of political science at Iowa State and coordinator of the poll, says the political found that 51% of those naming the libertarian-leaning Texan as their first choice is definitely backing him. We'll have to see what happens in the Iowa caucuses, but I'm sure it's going to be a great ride. Unique New York, the tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lip, the tip of the tongue, the teeth, new lip, unique New York, unique New York. Oh, hey. Before we finish, we'd like to give thanks and congratulations to Westmoreland Valley on a state championships, even though there's allegations of steroid use. But before we go, I'd like to share you with a pun that we were sent in by Braden Tiskelin of Waukee, Iowa. His one hope was just to get on our newscast. His pun is, why didn't the bike get up the hill? Because it was too tired. That's all for us today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again on Peacock Student News.